Things didn't magically get better overnight, but they did get busier. I threw myself into uni, joined the writing society, submitted a short story under a fake name, and almost fainted when it got picked for the end of term sign. I started going to open mic nights with Jess and a girl down the hall named Priya, who always had glitter on her cheeks and very strong opinions about poetry. And then there was Aiden. He had a girlfriend back home at first, someone he'd been with since year 10. He talked about her a lot in a fond, baffled way, like he couldn't believe she'd put up with him for that long. But long distance is hard, and by the time spring rolled around, they'd broken up. We just stopped recognizing each other, he said one night as we sat on the floor of my room, eating chips out of the carton, like we were still using the same names, but not the same people. I nodded, thinking of how I'd felt when Jamie texted me about Lily, like he was using our usual words but from a universe I wasn't allowed into. "You okay?" I asked. He shrugged. "Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but maybe it's better to admit we changed than pretend we didn't." "Deep," I said, offering him another chip. He smirked. I contain multitudes. I rolled my eyes, but my heart did the stupid little skip thing again. It was ridiculous. I absolutely did not need more feelings. The second twist came at the end of first year, on the night everything imploded. It was exam season, which meant campus was full of caffeine, stress, and people crying in the library toilets. I just handed in my last essay and was floating on a weird combo of sleep deprivation and relief. Jamie texted, "Greater than. Pub tonight. We're celebrating. You better come or you're dead." To me, she hadn't seen him much in the past few weeks. We'd both been swamped, and when we did cross paths, he usually had Lily attached to his arm, but it felt wrong not to mark the end of first year together. So I said yes. The pub was heaving. Music too loud, bodies too close, everything sticky and warm. I spotted Jess and Priya at one table, already tipsy, waving me over. And there, at the bar, was Jamie. He looked tired but happy, his curls messier than usual, a half-finished pint in front of him. When he saw me, his whole face lit up. "May," he yelled over the music. "Arms open. You made it." He smelled like beer and that aftershave he always overused. I hugged him back, trying not to inhale like a creep. "How'd your last exam go?" he asked. "Managed to write 4 pages about a poem that was basically 3 lines, I said. "So, you know, classic English student scam." He laughed. "Knew you'd smash it." We kept slipping into our old rhythms, sliding around the new boundaries like they weren't there. For a couple of hours, it almost felt like being back home. Just us against the world. Almost, because every time I relaxed, Lily would appear, wrapping an arm around his waist, kissing his cheek. She was sweet to me, genuinely, which made it 10 times worse. It's very hard to hate someone who keeps asking you about your favorite books and buying you drinks. At some point, I drifted over to my course slot. Aiden was there, half perched on a bar stool, talking to some guy from his flat. "You made it," he said when he saw me, giving me an exaggerated bow. "I'm a resident tortured poet." "Shut up," I said, bumping his shoulder. "What are you drinking?" He raised his glass. "Something neon and probably carcinogenic." "Nice." We talked for a while about exams, about summer plans, about whether the uni library was actually cursed. His hand brushed mine when he passed me his drink to try, and a jolt went through me like static. I handed it back quickly, cheeks warm for reasons that had nothing to do with alcohol. "Hey," he said more quietly after a while, leaning in so I could hear him over the music. "You okay? You've got that look." "What look?" "I'm thinking about something I don't want to be thinking about look." I hesitated. Then I glanced across the room to where Jamie was spinning Lily around in a clumsy dance, both of them laughing. My chest ached. I started. Sometimes I think I'm over it, and then I see them together and my brain's like, "Surprise, idiot, you're not." Aiden followed my gaze. His expression softened. "Ah," he said. That, I repeated. "There's an easy solution. You know," he said lightly. "You could fall madly in love with someone else." I snorted. "If only it were that simple." "Isn't it?" he said, eyes on mine. For a split second, the air between us shifted. I was suddenly very aware of how close we were standing, of the way his gaze dropped to my mouth and back. My heart did that ridiculous jump again, traitorous. Then someone jostled him from behind and the moment snapped. "Come on," he said, straightening up. "We're doing shots and regretting our life choices." "Ewan, obviously," I said. I wish I could say I made sensible decisions after that. I did not. Hours later, the pub was a blur. People came and went. Someone spilled a drink down my leg. Just tried to argue philosophy with a bartender. At some point, a group decided Wonderwall was a personality trait. I stepped outside for air, the night cool against my overheated skin. My phone buzzed. "Where are you?" Jamie greater than outside need oxygen before I melt a few minutes later. The door swung open, and he joined me, breath clouding in the chilly air. "You all right?" he asked, leaning against the wall next to me. "You disappeared." I could say the same, I replied. "Been busy winning Boyfriend of the Year," he laughed, shoving his hands in his pockets. "Shut up." We were quiet for a moment, watching drunk freshers stagger down the street. "I'm gonna miss this," he said suddenly. "Miss what?" I asked. "This." He gestured vaguely. "All of it. First year. Being idiots. Before everything gets serious." I frowned. "What do you mean before everything gets serious?" He hesitated. "Lily got an internship offer in Manchester," he said. "Big agency. Proper opportunity. She wants me to think about maybe moving there after graduation, or at least looking for stuff up north." There it was. Another axis tilt. "Oh," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "That's great. For her. For you." He looked at me. I searching. "You think you'd be good?" I said, forcing a smile. "You've always wanted to do big things. Tell big stories." "Yeah, but..." He trailed off. "I don't know. It's far. And it'd mean leaving?" I supplied. "Yeah," he said. "Leaving. Properly this time. Not just 3 hours away on a train." He didn't say leaving you, but it hung there between us anyway. My throat felt tight. "People leave," I said, surprising myself with the bitterness. "It's what they do." He winced. "Low blow." "May." I sighed. "Sorry. That wasn't fair." He studied me. "Are you mad at me?" "No." I lied. "Why would I be mad?" "Because everything's changing," he said quietly. "And I don't know how to do that without messing us up." My heart lurched. This was it. Another one of those moments. Another chance to say it. "I don't want us to get messed up," I said. "Me neither," he replied. You're my person. You know, even with Lily, it's different." "Different how?" I wanted to ask. "Better? Worse? Replaceable?" Instead, I said, "You're my person too," and immediately regretted how exposed that sounded. His gaze flicked to my mouth. Just for a fraction of a second. It was so fast I almost thought I imagined it. "Sometimes I think," he started, then shook his head. "Nah, I'm drunk. Ignore me." "Sometimes you think what?" I pushed. Hard pounding. He opened his mouth. Then the door burst open, spilling light and noise. "There you two are," Lily shouted, stumbling outside, cheeks flushed. "Everyone's doing group photos. Come on." She wrapped an arm around his waist, tucking him back. He let himself be pulled, looking over his shoulder at me. "Come on, May," he called. "Don't hide." I followed them back inside, my unsaid words sitting heavy at the back of my throat. Later, after too many drinks and too many almost confessions, things blurred. I remember dancing. I remember just shouting, "You're a bad bitch," in my ear. I remember laughing too much, eyes stinging. I remember Aiden appearing in front of me, his hands warm on my waist. "You all right?" he asked. "Never better." I lied. He searched my face. "You shouldn't lie," he said softly. And then, because apparently my life enjoys making things complicated, I remember kissing him. Or maybe he kissed me. Or maybe it happened in that strange, mutual way where you both lean in at once because the alternative feels impossible. His mouth was soft, careful at first, like he was giving me space to change my mind. My heart raced. For a moment, the noise around us faded and all I knew was the press of his lips and the slight scratch of his stubble. It was nice. More than nice. It was grounding and dizzying at the same time. When we pulled back, breathless, he said, "Well, that complicates things." I laughed shakily. A bit. Then, over his shoulder, I saw him, Jamie, standing by the edge of the dance floor, glass in hand, watching us. His expression was unreadable. Then he turned and walked away. And just like that, everything that had been precariously balanced finally toppled. The next morning, my skull felt like it had been replaced with a bag of rocks. Jess shoved a glass of water into my hand. "Drink," she commanded, and then debrief. In that order, I tried to untangle memory from hangover fog. The kiss, the look on Jamie's face, the way my stomach twisted when I remembered. "Oh God," I groaned, burying my face in my pillow. "I've ruined everything." "Not everything," Jess said. "Just, like, several things. You're not helping." She patted my shoulder. "Okay, real talk. You kissed someone who's actually present in your life instead of pining for the one who's emotionally half-moved to Manchester. That doesn't make you evil. It makes me confused," I mumbled. "Welcome to your 20s, she said. "Population, everyone." My phone buzzed. I flinched like it might explode. "Aiden, you alive?" Another message. "Greater than. Also, we should probably talk about last night before we both pretend it didn't happen and then act weird for 6 months." He stared at the screen, panic and something else warring in my chest. Another buzz. "Jamie, this time, greater than. Can we talk?" Alani's stomach dropped. "I have to move to a different country," I told Jess. "Possibly Mars." "Okay," she said. "Mars later. Talk first." I met Aiden in the cafe near campus. He looked as awkward as I felt, which was weirdly comforting. "Hi," he said, half smile twitching at his lips. "Hi," I echoed, fiddling with my sleeve. "So," he said after we'd ordered and sat down. "About last night." "I'm sorry," I blurted. "I was drunk and emotional and I've been a walking red flag all year." He laughed, surprised. "Wow, okay. Harsh on yourself much." "It's just, I don't want to mess you around," I said. "I like you." "I do. But my brain is a dumpster fire and my heart is apparently still 12 years old when it comes to certain people." His expression softened. "Maya, I know." I blinked. "You know what? That you're in love with him," he said simply. The words landed like a stone dropping into a lake. "What? Come on," he said gently. "You think I haven't noticed? The way you scan a room when you walk in, like you're checking if he's there. The way you talk about him like he hung the moon but also like you want to throttle him. The way you went quiet when he got with Lily. I might be a disaster, but I'm not blind." He crept up my neck. "Is it that obvious? Only to people who are paying attention," he said. "The rest of them are too busy with their own trauma." I slumped back. "I'm sorry, Aiden. I didn't mean to use you." "Hi," he said, leaning forward. "You didn't use me. I kissed you too. Remember, I'm a big boy. I make my own choices. And I like you a lot, which is why I'm not going to pretend this is nothing. But I also don't want to be your emotional consolation prize while you're still orbiting him." My chest ached. "That's fair," he sighed. "Look, I'm not asking you to forget him overnight. That's not how it works. But maybe think about what you're actually getting out of loving someone in secret versus what you could get from being fully present with someone who's right here." "Are you saying you want to try?" I asked tentatively. "I'm saying," he said slowly, "that if you can get to a place where you're not measuring every experience against would this be better with Jamie, then I'd like to take you on a real date. One where we're not drunk in a pub and you're not about to cry over someone who doesn't realize he's the main character in your internal monologue." I laughed weakly. "You make a compelling case," he smiled sadly. "Until then, we can just be friends. Or something more? I don't know, but I'm not going to push you. You need to sort your head out first." "Okay," I whispered. "Thank you for being annoyingly emotionally mature. I try," he said. "Also, please tell your brain that kissing me was not a mistake, even if the timing was." "It wasn't," I said before I could overthink it. "A mistake, I mean." He grinned. "Good. Now go have the other conversation before you explode." I groaned. "I hate that you're right. I contain multitudes. Remember, I met Jamie in the park near campus, by the pond where the ducks were always inexplicably aggressive. He was already there when I arrived, pacing. He looked fragile, in a way I wasn't used to, like someone had shaken him and all his edges were jangling. "Hey," I said, hard hammering. "Hey," he replied. "Thanks for coming." We stood there for a few seconds. Nothing but duck quacks and distant traffic between us. "So, he said finally, rubbing the back of his neck. You and Aiden. Huh, I winced. You saw, yep. Sorry, I said. I didn't mean for you to find out like that. How are you planning on telling me? He asked. PowerPoint, interpretive dance. Despite everything, I snorted. Shut up, he sighed, shoulders slumping. Look, I'm not angry you kissed someone. Obviously, you're allowed to do whatever you want. It just threw me. Why? I asked, confused and a little raw. You have a girlfriend, a lovely one, who you might move across the country for. He flinched. It's not that simple, isn't it? I shot back, more sharply than I intended. You're allowed to move on, but I'm supposed to stay here and… What? Wait around like your emotional support human while you build a whole life with someone else? His eyes widened. That's not fair. Neither is you acting weird because I kissed someone, I said. Words spilling out now. You don't get to have a claim on my love life just because we've known each other since we were kids. He stared at me. Claim? That's what you think this is? What else am I supposed to think? I demanded. You barely talked to me for weeks, and then the second I might, possibly, be moving on from this hopeless crush, you're sulking in a corner like a jealous boyfriend in a young novel. The word crush slipped out before I could stop it. We both froze. What? He asked quietly. From what? My stomach dropped. Too late to backtrack now. I took a deep breath that didn't reach my lungs. From you, Jamie, I said. From you. Silence. A squirrel rustled in the bushes. The universe held its breath. You're… What? He said again, voice cracking. You're saying you… Yes. I cut in before I lost my nerve. I have been in love with you for… I don't even know how long. Years. Since before I knew what the word meant. And I tried to bury it. I really did. Because you were happy and I didn't want to screw that up. But watching you with Lily is like watching someone else live the life I pretended we'd have. And it hurts. And I am so tired. The words tumbled out in a rush. Messy and imperfect, but real. His face went through about 7 emotions in 3 seconds. Why didn't you tell me? He whispered. Because you've always had a way out, I said, feeling suddenly very tired. When my dad left, you still had a full house. When we finished school, you had a plan. When we came here, you had Lily. I didn't want to be another obligation you felt stuck with. I wanted you to choose me, and you never did. He flinched like I'd slapped him. That's not… Look, I said, tears prickling at my eyes. I'm not saying all this to make you feel guilty. I'm saying it because I can't keep pretending this is normal. That we're just mates and I don't feel like I'm losing a limb watching you plan a future with someone else. He was quiet for a long time. I did choose you, he said finally, voice slow, over and over. I just didn't realize it meant something different to you. That's kind of the point, I said, a sad laugh escaping. You chose me as your best friend, and I love that. I do. But I've been living in this half space. Not quite enough to move on. Not close enough to reach. It's exhausting. He scrubbed a hand over his face. I'm such an idiot. No, I said. We're just bad at this. Feelings. Communication.